wanted to sit down and share some thoughts with you about some of the benefits of keeping a training log. It's something I've been thinking about a little bit this week, and something that I really did well as an athlete, and something that I personally got a lot from when I was competing, and thought that was going to be the extent of it. But honestly, all the athletes that I'm coaching now keep a training log on a program called Training Peaks. There's a variety of benefits to that I'm going to go through in this particular episode. So I thought if you're looking for a little way to be able to see improvements in your running, or to be able to monitor what's working and what's not, really recommend jumping on board and doing some form of training log. Now, this can be simple, it can be complex, depending on your personality, depending on your admin skills. Some people love it and like to really go down to the nitty-gritty details. Some people, like Nick Willis, the Olympic bronze medalist from New Zealand, I saw a post of his a while ago, and he just has the workout written down on a piece of paper. And I thought, hey, different horses for different courses. So with all of that said, let me throw a few reasons at you as to why I think you should consider it. And hopefully it's just a little bit of food for thought that can add a bit more variety and interest into your training. So first of all, I think the benefits are for coaches and athletes. As I said, I use a platform called Training Peaks. And some of the things I love about Training Peaks, just to clarify, these guys aren't a sponsor of the show. This is just coming out of the love of my heart. They allow you to really formulate a plan. So what I do with my athletes is we have a big goal in mind. We find out exactly, all right, what is it that you're working towards? Are you brand new to running? If you've been running a while, are you trying to compete at a professional level? You're trying to break through, just trying to run some PBs. What's the end goal? And then from there, we're able to work back and really formulate a plan to be able to do our best to get the athlete to reaching their goal with that particular plan. So what we love about that, I do a week at a time. So we have the overall plan. So we call that the scaffold. And then from there, we take it week by week and just have planning at least 7 days ahead, so the athletes that I'm working with can sort of see what it is that they're doing. Now, we've got some real structure built into that week, so they're going to know that, all right, Tuesdays and Thursdays are a more difficult session most of the time. Sundays are going to be a longer run. And then from there, we gradually adjust and tweak that training program depending on how their body is. But I think that overall plan and that weekly or fortnightly listed training session, like the ability to be able to actually list those training sessions and see what's coming up, is really nice for athletes to be able to go, okay, I can see what's going on here. I can see where the hard sessions are. I can see where the easier sessions are. For me, I jump on there, most days and just have a look at how their particular run went. So as a relationship between us, it's a really helpful little tool to have. A lot of people ask when you're speaking about putting together a training log, like what is it that you include? Training Peaks pretty much ticks off everything. I was a little bit old school with my training journals. I used to just use like a 12-month calendar, and each day I'd pretty much write down the distance that I ran, how hard it was, but a number of things. You can include sort of subjective feelings about how the session went. So are you tired? Are you feeling flat? Were you feeling fantastic? Some of the reasons why. Did you have an argument with your wife or your husband before you went out and did your run? There's always little factors like that come up. As I said, you can do distance. You can include heart rates, the averages, the highs, the lows, maybe even listing certain shoes that you run in. Especially if you're new to a pair of shoes, you can do a little bit of a review there and go, okay, well, this felt really good for a longer session. Probably wouldn't use it for a shorter session. And just being able to go back over that and have a bit of an idea as to what worked is really helpful. So what I always found helpful as well was, as I was planning for a race, every now and then I'd go through a phase where I might have a bad session and I'd be really frustrated and a bit emotional about it. But what's nice about logging your training is you can get some real objective feedback. You can look back through the last couple of weeks and say, okay, well, I've actually been in some pretty good form. I've been doing a lot of good runs. I've been hitting the times that I wanted to hit. Today might have just been an off day. Was there anything about today that didn't go well? Was my sleep off? Was my stress too high? Have I been on my feet too long today? So having that just to be able to flick back through and go, all right, look, I can clearly see that I'm not in terrible form, or the flip side of that, I am in terrible form and something else might be up, is really, really helpful. The other thing is also reflecting on what works well in the lead up to a certain race. So if you run a marathon, you absolutely smash your PB, how good is it to have just some solid, in concrete evidence of the training that worked for you in the lead up for that run? So if you can find out what works for your body and what's actually bringing PBs out when it comes to race day for you, why not replicate that? Sure, make a couple of tweaks, but when you've got that scaffold in place, when you've got that really solid overview that, hey, this worked, if it's not broke, don't fix it. So we can start to work with a plan for our body, and that's up to you and your coach to find out what specifically worked about it, what didn't, and then just to have some meat in the discussion for you and your coach to be able to go over is really helpful. The other thing is injury prevention. Obviously, at some stage in all of our careers, long or short, we're going to have to deal with some form of injury or pain or discomfort. And obviously, it's a part of being a runner, and there's many different factors that go into it. But one of the really helpful things that you can do with a training log is look back and say, okay, well, I've had some Achilles pain. I can see that over the last 6 months or 6 weeks, I've rapidly increased the amount that I'm running, or I've increased the speed, or I've changed terrain, or the shoes that I'm running in are different. And just that ability to be able to say, okay, what are some potential reasons that are causing this discomfort, that are causing this inflammation, or whatever it is that you're dealing with? I think it's so much more helpful than not keeping any training log, because it's hard. Like if I say to you, what did you do 6 weeks ago on Tuesday night? It's really difficult to remember that with any clarity. So just releasing yourself of that mental load to be able to look back and go, all right, that's where the problem started. That's where the distance increase or the pace increase started. Maybe there's a couple of little adjustments we need to make going forward. I think that's really helpful. I've already spoken about race preparation, but just want to put an asterisk next to that one. One thing I didn't mention around race preparation is just the taper, like finding out not only what worked in terms of your main base training load and the refining period, but in terms of your taper, what do you do a week out from your run? What works for you? Do you like to have the day off the day before? Do you like to go for an easy run? I personally used to like to, if I had a 5 or 10K race the following Saturday, today's Sunday, I was the kind of guy that I like to reduce the distance and the intensity of some of the sessions. The distance and intensity of some of the sessions while still being able to turn my legs over pretty rapidly. And I know that for a fact because I look back at all the times I ran PBs, and each of my weeks is like that. I was quite diligent with my logging when I was running, just because I like the romanticism of it, and the idea that now 20 years later I can look back and go, hey, look at that session I did. That was a real big breakthrough. So that's just me being a running nerd, but you might enjoy that as well. Truth is, if you're working with a coach, if you've got someone that you want to share that training with, it's just to me, I couldn't coach without it. It's undeniable, just the benefits that it has. So if you've never really considered it, there's a little bit of food for thought. Also really open to having a chat to a number of you about getting some personal running coaching. So whether you're brand new to the sport, maybe you've been in it for a little while, maybe you're not even a distance runner, you're just learning to improve your running element of your game. Don't forget, relaxed running is more than about just distance running. We're also working with athletes in running-based sports. So whoever you are, whatever you're training for, if you could do with some more personalized individual coaching, doesn't matter where you are in the world. I've got athletes in New Zealand and Seattle and Sydney and Victoria. That's the beauty of the internet these days. We can do everything we need by distance. So would love to hear from you. Jump over to Relax Running, click on the coaching tab, and hey, let's organize a 20-minute Zoom chat. Even if you just want to have a discussion about my philosophy on training, whether or not it would be a good fit, be more than happy. That first Zoom session is completely free. It's just a chance for you to share your goals, open up with me a little bit about what you're trying to achieve, and say, hey, do you think I can help? So if you're interested in that, shoot me an email, please. Would love to hear from you. We'll do that Zoom call. Also be a great chance to meet you. But there's a quick one for you today, guys. A few little thoughts on some of the benefits of keeping a training log. I hope that's helpful to you. Hope your running's going well. As always, I really appreciate your podcast reviews and any of the feedback. So get in touch. Happy training. Until next week, I'll leave you to it. All right. Goodbye.
Thanks for listening to the Relaxed Running Podcast. If you're ready to become a faster, more efficient runner, visit www.relaxedrunning.com.